much for having me here tonight. Thank you, Bill.
Speak up.
I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me here today. I'm very honored to be able to be here and to share my story, and I really appreciate you all for caring about my story and about my father's story. Just to let you know a little bit about my background. So my father was incarcerated from the time that I was 2 years old until I was 24 years old, and I'm 27 now. So when I was growing up, the only thing that I knew was him being incarcerated. But he was my dad, and he was an amazing father to me. When I was really young, I would tell my mom, like, I'm running away, I'm gonna go live with my dad. I thought we could like live in a bunk bed together because I didn't know any better. I just knew that he was my dad. We were really close when I was really young, and especially when I was in elementary school. I would come home from school, and I would write him letters and tell him about my day, and he would send me stickers and stuff like that. Just little things like that would just mean a lot to me. Being a really creative child, he was very attentive to my emotional needs. I felt like more so than anyone else in my family. My mom was so busy working. She worked 2 jobs. I lived with my grandmother as well. She worked 2 jobs. So I felt like my dad understood my emotional needs. As I got older, it was really difficult for me to understand his limitations. I didn't really know a lot about intellectual disabilities. As I got older, I actually took my intellect and tried to understand him better. So even now, like my favorite author is Dostoevsky. I love Russian literature. Crime and Punishment is my favorite book. I really wanted to understand him better. I think I still didn't get a complete grasp of my dad's limitations until he passed away. So it really means a lot to me to be able to educate others on this because I still have been getting a lot of education from it myself. So what happens when you have a family member who passes away in prison, they send you all of the things. It doesn't matter what it is. It could have just been like random trash on the floor that was in the cell. So I got everything. So when I received all of these things, the curious person that I was, I went through everything. So I found a notebook of his, and he had every word that he ever used when he wrote a letter. It was in the back of this notebook. And it really made me see a lot of his limitations that I wasn't privy to before. So I saw that he really couldn't spell as well as I thought he did. So when he wrote letters to everyone, it really made me see how much time he really took into writing those letters, because he had to refer back to his notebook every time he wrote a different word. And also, I learned that my dad, when he was in 3rd grade, he was already in a class for people who had intellectual challenges. And that really struck a nerve with me because when I was in 3rd grade, I was tested for 50 students. So it really just lets me see the differences in his intellectual abilities than those with mine. But he was a really amazing father. He was always there for me. I feel like now that I'm older, I wish that I could have understood him better when I was growing up. But that's just the thing about life. You know, sometimes it doesn't work like that. But one story that I do want to share with you all was when I was little, I had a cat. I love cats. I still have a cat today. I had a cat, and it was my best friend, and my cat passed away. And I told my dad about it, and I was so sad. So he told one of his friends who made things in prison, and he got his friends to make me a stuffed cat, and it looked just like my cat. And I was so excited about this little cat, and I would go around telling my mom and my family members, this is my cat reincarnated. And they're like, what 8-year-old talks like this? But I just want to say thank you all for listening to my story. Another thing that I do want to share about my father that goes along with intellectual disabilities. Since I was 2 years old when he was incarcerated, I don't have many stories myself about him being out, like what I call being in the real world. But my mother told me that my dad never wanted to drive on the expressway. And she just thought he was afraid to go on the expressway. But now that I'm learning more about intellectual disabilities, I feel like he probably had a lot of challenges with getting on the expressway, maybe reading the signs, maybe just that he has to go so fast and being able to, you know, understand exactly what's going on. It's really interesting because if you had met my father, you wouldn't think that he had intellectual disabilities just by interacting with him and seeing him. He was such a charismatic man. He was always smiling, always laughing. So it's very interesting, like, to see the face of intellectual disabilities and to really really understand the challenges that they have. So thank you all.